might have banked.
Holy shit.
We might have banked. There's a chance that we banked. And you were either there or you weren't. But we did bank. Okay? We did bank. We absolutely crushed it today. I took 2 trades today. We're going to actually go over both of them. One of them was an off-stream trade. The other one was an on-stream trade, which you just saw on the screen just now. This little guy right here. Kind of small, but you know what? Sometimes at the right angle, the right time, they don't matter. You know, the RR is there. It's got quality behind it. There's something there. You know, you can't just disregard it because it's not some massive, 200-point move. Okay? It's the 50-point moves that gets the job done, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, 2 trades today. Both of them were on NQ. Both of them using ES as well. We're going to look at both these trades and do a little trade recap on this. We're actually going to collapse ES for the time being. So basically the very first move coming into this day, nothing, bro. On the AM boot up, absolutely nothing. We were just consolidating. We opened up on the previous day equilibrium. Basically, during the London and Asia session, we had taken out our draws of liquidity. We had left behind, I think, 1 on ES. I think it was 1. Was it just the London high? We left behind something on ES, just enough for us to break away from this consolidation phase since we had opened up on equilibrium. We had dropped beneath our previous daily low. Our previous daily low, I believe, is like somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is our previous daily low. We had dropped beneath that previous daily low and then ran all the way down to these first fair value gaps, both on NQ as well as on ES right here. So you could have taken really either of these trades and both of them would have done just fine. I'm actually going to zoom in on NQ for now. So how I found these trades are pretty simple. I was actually looking to go long originally on NQ right here. This is where I was actually looking for longs. We'll do a little bit of a playback here so you can understand my logic behind that. It was pretty simple, okay? Now, one thing to note is that we had, this is now bearish, but we had bullish first fair value gaps on this order block down here. This is our AM order block, so we had bearish inverses coming into the short. However, there are still bullish fair value gaps for the time being. Now, I'm not looking for a trade till I have a decent draw of liquidity, which I was actually looking at on ES and NQ at the same time to be this AM low as well as this previous London low. You get the idea here. We come down, we fully, not mitigate, but we drop beneath our bullish first fair value gap, not inversing it, not mitigating it, but definitely questioning that. We're going to create a proper inverse of this fair value gap in a moment. We have a sell side sweep of liquidity on our AM low. I believe we also had, I could be tripping dick right now. Sell side sweep on our AM low here. I swear there was something else. Oh, I targeted the London low. My bad. We had first fair value gaps on both of these equities though, which makes sense. Go back to NQ real quick. So what had happened is we had swept our low. So I was trying to use this as a draw of liquidity to take back to equilibrium or target our AM highs up here. I actually got in on this trade. The problem is, which is why you guys need to backtest and forward test and trade really with both equities up at the same time, is ES struggled at its first fair value gap. So what I'll show you, if I go to ES real quick, completely different look here. Okay, completely different look. The pointer never we didn't have the pointer across on ES. It didn't translate to ES. Only NQ was making that move, right? And we still had more lows on both NQ and ES to take out. So why would I be stuck on that bias on NQ if ES isn't going to correlate with it? I never try to take a trade that goes against the bias of both equities, right? They're going to move together. One's going to lead, one's going to follow. In this case, ES was leading. NQ was following, then ES took the lows, and then they were correlated. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by this in a moment. So we actually see a pointer inverse. I have a video on pointer inverses. Essentially, the idea here is that when you have a buy model off of a, in this case, we have a previous daily low, buy model set up with our pointer break of structure. We had first for value gaps down here, as well as first for value gaps on ES. So they're gone now because obviously we took a short on this. We had a buy model present itself, and we were going to target the equilibrium. It actually did run for a little moment. You'll see the wicks come in here. Excuse me? The fuck was that? Okay, yeah, there we go. It did run a little bit. It actually ran over this 2-minute FFVG, or at this point, it's now an inverse first fair value gap, right? So what had happened is we left behind these first fair value gaps on this order block, not yet mitigated. How I would know that these longs would be confident is if we're able to fully close over and create pointer breaks over the inverses. The problem is that ES did not respond well, did not create a pointer off of the sweep of the AM low. So they're not correlated, right? You're trading against it's like swimming up the current, right? Trying to Doesn't make any sense. We are validating on NQ, but if you're narrowed in on NQ, you wouldn't realize that ES was doing a completely fucking different thing. Now, we did create the fair value gap on a lower time frame. It did not hold. What had happened instead is we had a buy-side sweep of our inverse fair value gap, first fair value gap, inverse 2-minute first fair value gap of our AM open order block. And you'll see this buy-side sweep creates a pointer breaker structure to the downside. I close out my buy order. I had actually trimmed the contract because ES was doing some bullshit, was not interested in trying to hold that long down. I was like, okay, this low is pretty dog shit. It was a relatively recent low anyways. It's not that it matters. It's not anything too prominent, okay? We have a pointer break after this as a reaction to our inverse first fair value gaps. Now, not to mention, we also have a 2, 3, I think a 1 minute first fair value gap on this, inverse as well, that we hold. And then if you go to ES, you'll see very similar look, right? We have inverse. This motherfucking camera, bro. I'm about to crash the fuck out. Lock in, bitch. We're filming a video. Lock in. Oh, I'm pissing me off, bro. Anyways, so ES had a whole different look, right? In this case, we mitigate we hold our inverses. We have inverse first fair value gaps here. They're grayed out, obviously, but we have inverse first fair value gaps here. And then we come down and we inverse these first fair value gaps off of this order block. And we don't have anything stopping us. No, nothing prominent till this London low and these first fair value gaps here. It was super, super clean. Matter of fact, I wish I had taken this on ES instead, but I got my entry on a pointer on NQ. ES had actually had a little bit more rationale behind it from a liquidity standpoint because this fucking camera, hold on. Rage and hatred I have for this fucking camera. I don't know why it does this shit all the fucking time. Anyways, there was a lot more rationale behind ES since we had taken and we're kind of just swimming over our Asia high. So there was a better draw liquidity on ES, but I was on NQ just because I was looking for the longs anyways. It was a lot easier for me to take, right? Our Asia high was all the way back here. We weren't really doing nothing off that. We ain't be doing nothing off that, okay? Now, what I had done here is I had targeted our London lows and our first fair value gaps. It ran well beneath this, okay? And again, this is what I mean by finding and identifying a leading and dragging equity. In this case, ES was leading, so I should have taken this on. ES. I did not, okay? I could have had a much better risk reward on this. If you look at the risk reward comparison, way better comparison. I was just a lot quicker to find a entry on NQ, and by that point, you know, what am I supposed to do about that? There was a 3-minute pointer here that you could have sized in on. This is kind of a quick analysis. Yeah, probably just a 3-minute pointer. It looked better on NQ. You probably could have just taken it with the fact that NQ had made the pointer anyways. And then you can, again, in this case, I'll obviously target your London low, your Asia low, your first fair value gap reactions, stuff like that. But I took this on NQ, so we're going to look at it from the NQ standpoint. So there was my pointer. Looking at about a 3RR, we caught a $51 drop on this. It's pretty high. It is what it is. Nothing too crazy. Very quick trade. We target our London lows and these first fair value gaps all the way back here from this previous London session. Those are, I think it's just a 5-minute FFBG. Yeah. We had previously reacted to this. We had taken out our London low. We saw a massive move to the upside, but we held the pointer. The reason why I got out on this is because my bias was already long. So at the time, I was just done with the consolidation of the day. I was just like, I'm just trying to make my bread and go. It was a very quick move. So I was like, you know what? We're going to walk for the day on that shit. And then we had swept our London low. Still no reactions coming out of these. And then we were just creating more and more inverses. We'll let this run a little bit more. Oh, that was too far. Whoops. I think it was on ES. Yeah, right here. ES had taken our Asia low, okay? So it ran a little bit more. Again, the better trade would have been on ES. It's always important to go back and understand what could I have done better. In this case, I probably could have taken the trade on ES instead. That would be my biggest remark for this particular trade. Probably should have taken that on ES, but it's whatever. ES continues to fall down to our Asia session low. We take out our Asia session low, and we have a cluster of first fair value gaps here that we will clean up later on at the end of the day here because I think Asia pulled past this. And then we go to NQ, and you'll see that NQ creates a very similar sweep respecting the 1 and 2 first fair value gap off of a order block from the same Asia session. And then we create a, we create a 3-minute pointer right here. There's your 3-minute pointer, and then we also have a 5-minute pointer, and I think a 4-minute. I think it was, okay, just a 3 and a 5. Maybe it was ES2. It's hard when, I don't script these videos. I literally just go in here and just go back through my thought process. But we had a 3, 5-minute pointer, then you'll see these pointers continue to hold. There's another 5-minute pointer. You could size it on that entry again. Again, you have to think about my mind on this day particularly. I was going into this day with very much just exhaustion from consolidation, so I was just ready to be quick and out of my trades. Now, one thing that I did talk about on stream was targeting EQ. My main target was PDL. PDL was up here. We did not get to PDL, mainly because the day ended. We did not get to PDL though. However, we did reach our equilibrium. Okay, we have multiple equilibriums in here. Whoops. There's your EQ. That should have been your main target. This is a super, super bad RR trade, but I was targeting PDL at the time, or these first fair value gaps. That's where we did most of our trimming work, and then the rest of my contracts were just gambles till the 350 window. Big piece of advice, do not hold trades down to the 350 window. For whatever reason, the last 10 minutes of the market just seemed to be super volatile and the price will dance like crazy. So just be super careful about that. We maintained lower time frame first fair value gaps outside of our pointer on the 3 and the 5 minute time frame. We continue to expand inefficiently to the upside, at least on the lower time frames, that is, holding our first fair value gaps in place there, reacting to our first fair value gaps in a way that I was pretty comfortable with holding. Okay, and we inverse the 3 minute first fair value gap there to the downside, just continuing to expand upwards, albeit slowly. And you'll see we perfectly tap our 5 minute FFBG, and then we see a pointer breaker structure to the downside, and that's where we took out most of our contracts in this particular trade. Again, ES looked a little better, I believe, at least from like being able to analyze its price action. They're gone now, but there was or maybe they're not gone. Oh, maybe it was NQ. I'm fucking tripping. I swear, I'm tripping. ES just had those first fair value gaps right here. That was literally fucking it. It's struggling at the 5 minute, no first fair value, just struggling at literally a 5 minute FVG right there. So nothing too crazy. There was nothing to really worry about there. We did have a failed bullish order block there, so there is kind of a breaker block there. But more importantly, it's equilibrium. There's no price incentive to move anywhere when you're in equilibrium. We were kind of just trying to force it past the inverses. I was really just doing it for fun. There was no, like I told you guys on stream, there was no like conceptual reason to hold a trade longer than that. But really the entry on this one was, again, Asia sweep on ES, 3 minute, 5 minute pointer break, validation of first fair value gaps from the Asia session order block, entry, holding on the 1, 2, and 3 minute first fair value gaps, forming away from that, taking profit at first fair value gaps, which would also be equilibrium. And price is relatively choppy, but there is still a draw to the upside that you can clearly see here. Right, there's still that draw to the upside. But yeah, pretty simple, pretty clean trades today. I will say I wish I took them on different equities, but the main thing is just being able to be quick. This biggest note on this one is being quick with your inversions. When you have a failed pointer, check to see if there's inverse fair value gaps that it's failing yet, right? In this case, we have inverse fair value gaps. We fail this pointer, we replace it with a pointer, and that ended up being the chain of the implied move. This is how I catch implied moves when a lot of you guys have failed longs. You don't think, okay, well, if a long is failing, why is it failing? Well, it's either consolidating or you would take a short entry. So why the fuck are you not looking for a reason to go short? Now, if there's no reason to go short, fucking deuce out of there. Go back to, doing what you guys do when I'm not streaming, right? That's perfectly fine. But, yeah, you get it. Just be quick on your feet. I have a whole video on inverse pointers and how to use inverse pointers. Not inverse pointers, but the inversion of pointers with inverse fair value gaps, right? So, super clear draws today, but definitely tight price action to trade within. Shorts were obviously a lot easier to take given all the crazy draw that we had. So pretty happy with today's outcome. I made just around $1,000 or a little over $1,000. I think $1,100 today on one XFA. I'm only taking one XFA this week just because of the war stuff. I'd rather just blow one account off of bad news versus all of my 5 accounts take hits and I have to recover from that for the rest of the month. It's just a little bit of risk movement I'm just making for this particular season of trading. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. I'll be live tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. There's a link in the bio for the kick. I go live completely for free, and soon I'll be live basically 24/7 once you guys get me to partner. Lock in, chat. We also have a deal with Apex Trader Funding. All the money I make from that goes right back to you guys. I buy you guys evals and give them out on Fridays. To every viewer, you have a chance of winning an eval. I trade with Apex. Check them out if you want to get funded. I don't really care. If you want to get funded with Apex, you can get a huge discount using code TROOP at checkout. There will be a link in the bio for that as well. God bless all you. Take care. Deuces, Troop. Love you.